Weather is good again, and I'm having some thoughts. With this siege falling, I think what I want to do is I want to give up my garrison command and go to a retreat command. The back door is open. Now here's the problem. I face a pursuit casualties if I leave completely. But I could sacrifice a small unit, and this is what I'm going to do, and a leader, unfortunately. This is the beginning of the turn. I'm going to break these guys up. I can't use the Shiner force because that's only allowed to be under his command, so I don't know why he'd break that up. And this turns into 2 4s, but I can raise it to a 5 and a 3. I can shift troops around, and I can give that 3 to von Stein, who will get the garrison command. Now he's going to stand behind and be a rear guard, but I'm going to lose less from him than I would lose by withdrawing. And then I take a retreat command, which I believe costs 0. It had better cost 0. Yeah, otherwise I could buy a maneuver or some such and give that to Ron. I would rather be leaving Ron behind because he sucks, but unfortunately he's my Capitano General, and I have to leave a commander behind. I can't just leave forces behind. I don't have unlimited minor commanders, and they're all assigned in this scenario. Other aspects. What about this guy? He's in March. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might as well leave him in March and administrative March because he's not going to get into place. I'm just looking at the French. They had to make their decisions first on this. I got so excited about thinking about that that I had to worry. Where is... Okay. Alviano has to move up to an attack order, though, because he's in place. So he's going from a maneuver to an attack, and he is the main order. So 4 minus 2 for a maneuver. He's going to owe 2 points to upgrade his command status. I could have started out an attack, but then I couldn't have moved as quickly as I did. Any other French that I can activate? What about Dupree? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dupree has to go to an attack order. Now he's got a cheap one. He's going... he only has to pay 1 to move up to an attack order. I probably, again, should have considered starting him in one. He doesn't lose his admin march immediately, though. I'm still saying he's exposed in it. He just can't use it. And that costs me 1 French point. Okay, let's go back to the reactive player who gets more decisions here now. I made this one jumping the gun, kind of. I might as well stay in admin. I'm going to have to deal with Alviano. Or I might as well stay in maneuver. Is there anyone else I need to think about? You know, I didn't move Royst. I forgot about him. I should... Oh well. I guess that's my fault. Alrighty. So I think we're done with the positioning. Hopefully I'll remember Royce this time. He had a die roll to come in, and he would be exceedingly helpful. But other than that, I think we're on to the activation phase. Last battery swap didn't work, but luckily there was enough time. I spend a lot of time not playing these games. I think it has more to do with the pulse nature than anything else. It's very hard for me to kind of... It's also hard for me to latch onto the narrative for whatever reason. But anyway, we're about ready to start the activation phase with the initiatives. And there's one person who's particularly interesting right now. I've got a lot of people who are doing things. Like Alviano's off ready to siege this. French forces moving into position in multiple places. But the interesting fella, and I may have mentioned this, but I don't think so, is, to some extent at least, I think I did, is Cardona here. He has a tough job. Because his supply source is being threatened. And that will suck. But there's not a whole hell of a lot he can do about it. We just started a new period, so we're not going to get points for quite a while. Unless I get the jump and get a double move, I'm not getting in there before Alviano can siege it. And if I do make that much effort to get in there, Alviano may change his axis of attack. So that's something to keep in mind, is that I probably want to move him early. And if I do move him early and he gets good rolls, he might go for this. But otherwise, he probably wants to go over to help defend Milan, because he's not going to be any good over here. He's not going to be able to break the siege because he can't get into the hex adjacent to an enemy unit. All right, well, I think what we're going to do then, given that situation, is we're going to have a matchup directly between Alviano and Cardona. Give him a quick roll. It looks like Alviano wins, but not by a whole hell of a lot. He's going to have a -2 movement. So I could hit Cardona with a -3 to his movement. He'd only have 2 movement points. Of course, he's administrative march, so he'd have 4, essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4. He could get to there. I would rather force him to use up his movement points on this bad roll, because if he starts heading this way, he may not be able to make it there either before the people of Pio or whatever. I don't remember who he is. I got him. Depri. Okay. So I'm forcing Cardona to make a hard choice here. Do you want to make your move to here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 away? Now, Alviano could just jump in, which might have been the wiser move. Yeah, I'm going to take my risk. And see if I can get there. So now we're going to do that same little game again. Alviano, I've got to have him up there, because if I can't hand another action away. So I need a high initiative guy, and I need to prevent him from reaching. So Alviano is going to go up against him again. And it looks bad for Alviano. Cardona ends up getting his full movement allowance if he goes. Alviano has a -3, both to his movement allowance and as his initiative value. So we're going to get a second. Oh, I'm sorry. He has an additional -1. So he has a -1 total. He has a -3 total. So Cardona gets to go with only a -1 on his movement. So he has 4 movement. And I made a mistake. 1, 2, 3, 4. I end my movement there. Or my admin march. And that's going to make Alviano want to go elsewhere. Cardona has to make an attrition check, though, because he went for the second time here. But I did push him into the corner, and this is not that important a space. The only real importance to that space is that it protects my supply source. And now I can swing Alviano down this way. So, it was kind of a weird situation where by allowing him to move, I may have actually helped myself more, even though he got in there, and I would have taken it if I could. So now for our attrition, this is second activation. There's a +1. The weather doesn't give us anything. Nothing else gives us anything. So we look at Cardona, who has 1, 9, 17 strength points. Rolls a die, he gets a 6, which means he's actually going to lose something. What do I want to lose? Well, sure as hell not my good Cav. I'll take it off. Is there a reason I want... Yeah, there's a reason I want smaller units. So I was saying, hey, I want to keep my units big. There's actually a reason against that, which is that it's possible that individual units get disrupted by things like cav charges, and it's safer for me to have more units. So there, I've had 2 activations by Cardona, and now I have to try to decide, okay, what's my next move? And the first pick has to go over to the anti-French side. Now, do they have anyone else they really care to move? Yes. I would like to get Iran out of there before the siege becomes difficult for me to get out of. I'm not going to have to pay a pursuit check because the general's there. So I'm going to be picking Iran. For the French, I'm not so sure. The pro-French. Alviano is still a pretty good choice with his high value, and he doesn't commit me anywhere. The only question is, do I need to get up here before he moves? And that's kind of dangerous. I'm not going to be able to engage Milan no matter what, so I don't think I can block him, because these guys, I think, are both in March. Let's check them. Dupree's got an attack order. How about Bourbon? Bourbon should. Bourbon's still got a maneuver order on him. Why did I do that? I don't know. Okay. Well, Dupree's got an attack order, so I'm going to put him up against Ron, and they're both at -2. That's just their leadership values. Okay, so Dupree could go at full movement. Iran would be losing 2 movement points off his units. His units are a little faster. They're 6-point marching Swiss. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would get him part of the way. I could cost him a couple movement points by doing that. Or I could position myself early. He's only got a retreat order, which is something that... He's not going to be able to attack me if I move into place. Oh, jeez. See if I'm doing something right. Yeah, 0.5 E. Again, I could try to be clever and try to get him to pull out of there. Because if I move up here, he may just stay in there. So I'm going to actually let Ron have the move again. There he goes, and he owns all of this, so I don't have to worry too much. And now, since he went first, if he doesn't pick Ron and the French pick Dupree, there's a chance that I won't have even an opportunity to go forward. Of course, it doesn't really matter with the die rolls, but I think I'm safest taking Ron. My only other option, really, I think, is Urbino, or I could go with von Stein, who has a good chance of winning, and maybe of depriving him of points. That's appealing, actually. So I think that's what we're going to go for. We're gonna announce we're using von Stein, and now I've got to decide: do I want to use Dupree against von Stein? Because I've got to. I'm less likely to win that. Or do I want to activate Bourbon? Now, Bourbon's kind of interesting because he's dependent on what's up with Ron. I can place myself to block Ron's ability, say, to run back here. And he's better, so I'm going to go with him. So we've got a couple of 3s, and we're on the other side there. Okay. I've got a 0 here. I'm not really too worried about him, except I would kind of like to make him burn his points. But I get a full movement with him, which might be good. That only gets me to here. And I'm not quite surrounded by 4 swamps. Oh, I have to take this. We'll stop there. I mean, I don't have to, but I kind of want to. We'll just stop there. Now, am I in danger of being attacked? Well, Ron doesn't have any movement orders, so my feeling is no. Or he doesn't have any attack orders. So my feeling is no, I'm not going to be able to be attacked. And now the French go, and they want to pick Dupree, because what they don't want to have happen is Ron to go forward. Now I have to pick Ron, and now we're both at -2. Okay, and the French get the jump. I could give Ron a -4 to his movement, and he'd only get 2 hexes. I'm going to give that to him. Because here's the problem. He's going to make that move, but he now has to make an attrition roll. If I didn't give this to him, he wouldn't have to move at all. So we're on the attrition table. Ron has 8, 13, 20, and a +1 for moving twice. Well, that's not a problem. At this point, I don't think that the anti-French have any more moves they want to take. So now the French are each going to get 1 activation. Here's something that I kind of alluded to in other videos of this, but I haven't really fully clarified my position on it. These guys, and I think I want to say what I have. These guys are under an attack order, but they were under a march order and they had an admin march. And the question is, what are their rights? Okay, normally you can't get rid of an admin march except at the end of your movement. But in this case, they've switched to an order which can't admin march anymore. And the question is, when does this go away? I leave it on him to give him a little bit more vulnerability. It may be that the intent of the rules was, hey, you can't even, if you're in admin march, you can't switch to an attack command. I feel that's a little too extreme, and it would mean that if you're anywhere near where you might want to attack, or in a situation where you might want to attack, you would have to come out of admin march immediately. That wouldn't be completely nonsensical, but it's just an ambiguity that I see in the rules, and this is how I'm resolving it. I think there are other potential answers. So Dupree, for his activation, is going to go, and we'll go up and get ourselves into position in Milan. I don't have enough movement points to start fortifying myself for a siege, though, which is problematic, because if these guys can get into attack order, they can slip in there. Okay. Let me give them a little marker. I don't really need this. Oh, shit. You know what? I forgot this asshole again. Let me not quit yet. So, we're still like this. Yeah, I've got to roll for him. I've got to take him moving, and I should have been doing it earlier. All right, well, he has a 3 going against Dupree's too. And we'll see what he can do. Dupree gets his full movement, a 3 movement. Those guys with a 3 initiative, they're going to get full movement. That's going to get them quite a bit closer. So Dupree is going to do the march we just saw. Gets him up to here. And that's going to make it impossible for these guys to reinforce this turn. But Dupree does not have any artillery, so his capability for sieging, and he hasn't been able to dig in, so his siege capability is basically nothing. And the Swiss can spend points however they like. They don't actually have a restriction on points in this scenario. Which means we get to the next French commander. I already triggered Francois. I think the French are done unless they want a second activation with this force, which they may. He does not have attack orders, though. I screwed up with him. He's got maneuver orders. I know Ron's not going anywhere. Without attack orders, I think I'm best sitting. I have Alviano, though. I need to move him. So we'll do Alviano versus Reist. Okay, they get even. They're exactly the same. That means a reroll. Reist wins by a lot. Now I could hit Alviano with that big -5, and that's going to give him -5 plus 3 means -2. Alviano will be down 2 movement points. Presumably he has a 5 movement allowance, which he does. So he only gets 3 points, and I'll hit him with that. Crossing the stream costs. I need the terrain chart. Secondary river bridge costs. I don't think I charged myself for crossing some of those secondary rivers on the way here. I'm not going to be able to cross this. So one. I'm not going to be able to cross it in any direction. 1, 2, I guess to there. That puts it here. And now the French instead will be the ones who pass. And that gives this guy his movement. He has 10 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm not sure we really need to be... Well, let's keep him there. I'm going to dispose of my admin march. I don't want to be at a disadvantage if I get attacked. I'm close enough that I might. And that is the end of movement. So we go to the combat phases. And really, we have two. He's going to make an attempted overrun, and he's going to be sieging. Pause for a bit before I get back to that. It's siege time. The French basically control the attacks. They're the ones who are going to generate them, so let's do them. We'll take the siege first itself. And this is going to be the same as last time with one small but important change. So we've got 3, 7 gunpowder, which puts us here. But we get a column shift for the hit again step, which is important. And I don't think there were any die roll modifiers. If a Capitano in the firing source has the siege ability, ooh, I might. I have so many leaders here now. Yeah, Navarro gives me that. Hey, let's give myself another +1. But it turns out it's not important. I get kind of the best result here. A 2 and a B. Oh, I had a +1 for my siege engine, don't I? Where's my siege engine? Huh. What the hell does my siege engine do for me? Oh, hell. I think I gave myself that. Its effects are detailed on the artillery fire table. Okay, I think it just modifies these. So I already took that into account last time, I think. So we got this 2B. Oh, and we have this little squiggle. Target Capitani makes an elimination check in a major battle. Remember, these tables have dual use. So I'm doing 2 hits, and I get a breach. The breach is going to upgrade this to a 2, and that gives me the right to do an in-breach attack again. If I can find... Huh. There it is. Alright. And I got 2 hits on... This is on Steiner here. He's in pretty bad shape. And now I get to do an in-breach attack. Now he's doubled because he's in the fortifications. And we've done this before. He's got Landsknechts, which gives a +1 to the attack, or Swiss, sorry. I have engineers, which might help me. The attacking Capitano is not getting a bonus because I'm attacking with Francis. I believe I have 4-1, so I have like, make sure. Do I have at least 8 strength points? Yes. So I'm gonna have, I could attack with Bayard. That's even better. He gives me a battle bonus. So that gives me the +1 there. So that gives me +1, +2, +3, +4 on the non-affecting terrain. And I get a huge roll. I wipe out his remaining unit, and von Stein is knocked out. I've had a successful siege. Let me clean that up and take the hex, and then I'll come to the other one. So this other one's trickier, because I'm making just an assault on the city. And we've got Minor B here. He's got 2 strength points. I'm sending Dupree against him straight up. He's got 4, 16, 20 strength points. To 2 doubled is 4. I've got the 4-1 odds. So that gives me a +2. I have no leader bonuses there, no special abilities. But I am facing Landsknechts, or Swiss infantry. So I get another +1. So I'm at +3. And I'm again on the non-affecting terrain. Oh, you know what I didn't take into account last time was quality differential. I think there wasn't one because I was using these Cav, but I might have one here. I do, in fact. If I throw these guys into the 2 pile, Dupree has a quality of 2. And this guy has a quality of 2. So again, we're on the 0 table for non-affected. And as I said, +3. 7. 7 looks like it hurts me. The attacker takes a 1. I want to take it off gunpowder. And I'll take it off of the French gunpowder troops, I guess. Yeah, they've got the same value. And he's taking a 1D. And that means we make a disorder check against a 2 troop quality. No mods. He rolls a 5, which is not good. That's a failure. If it had more than 2 SPs, it loses an SP. Otherwise, it's a demoralized. Well, a demoralized is a surrender in this case because it's a siege. So that falls too. However, Dupree's entire force is... I don't know if he's disrupted. Demoralized or disrupted. And I have to look that up. But otherwise, we took the hex. These go, and look, we're kind of winning the scenario with siege attacks, right? In we go. It's going to be hard to dig us out of there, but we have to look up. Yeah, I know that said siege, but over here. The force, well, the larger force man-to-mans, I don't know where it is. A force always becomes disrupted when declaring an attempt to storm the fortress before resolving the attack. Oh, that would have been on a different table. Now that's disrupted, not demoralized. 9.3, disrupted, I think I'm the same, is what? The quality was reduced by 1. Let's make sure the effect would be the same. I would have been down here on the 7 table or on the 7 die roll instead of here. So it's like being on the non-affected. Now I do need a marker for that though, because I have to recover that, and I'm going to be in that status until I spend a couple movement points to recover it, And do I have to be... See, normally to undemoralize, you have to... you have to be in a recovery status, either garrison or whatever the other non-mobile one is, if I can remember it. There's a overstand. But I don't think that's the case with disruption. I think I can just spend 2 movement points to upgrade. But my force quality is reduced by 1. On the other hand, I've taken the two major cities I need to take, and it looks like I'm winning the campaign here. Now I have to do the attrition, and I do not see anyone who's forced to attrition. Some people in some kind of unhappy terrain here, but they're not in enough of it. Nobody's adjacent to any enemies, so I think that pushes us to the next turn, and that was a pretty good turn. I feel like we played out almost all of the rules in the game except the major battle in that one, and I've kind of got a grasp on all of them. The major battle I'm still shaky on, as we saw in the last Swiss scenario, but at least I've gotten a try at it. We'll see if I can do better, but so far there might not be one in this battle. The French have achieved this standard victory. It was taking Milan and making sure the Swiss and the anti-French don't end up in certain places. This was the only one they held. The only one that's kind of near them is Lodi here. To get the supreme victory, they have to take Piacenza and Parma, put a real pressure on the papacy. They're not allowed to attack into the papacy at this point. I'm not really sure the papal player wants to move forward, and as the French player, without that opportunity, and with significant Swiss forces aside, I think I'm going to declare this a victory, simply because he can just stay back here, and then the only risk is losing the victory that I have, and that's fairly easy. A quick march to Lodi. I assume it's pronounced Lodi. It might be Lodi, I don't know. Over in New Jersey, it's Lodi. Would resolve the issue and throw us into a loss, which we really don't want to have happen. And I don't have a whole hell of a lot of time till the end of the game down here, which means, here's the problem. This is a fortress city. It might be hard to take. We saw this fall very easily, even though it had a very heavy... Now it didn't have that heavy a force. So I withdrew the majority of the force, trying to save Milan. But I think the French would be foolish at this point to risk the fall of that. Maybe. Let's go on. Because Alviano can tie up Cardona. Francis may be enough. See, here's the risk. I might lose Milan this turn. There's no guarantee that I don't. This is Dupree. He's got a fair-sized force, but a quick strike by Royst might well throw it into play. So yeah, with those Swiss out there, I'm going to call this here. And this is going to be a French victory. We're going to probably take a little break from this game and move on to something very different, actually. But there's something I want to look at in general. And I think it's good to do it on a weekend where I have a break in a game. So up this goes.